Hi, guys. Welcome back to the 40 and Unfiltered podcast. This week is a little bit in response to previous podcasts, maybe sounding like a little bit too much doom and gloom. So we're going to go over not only some of the better aspects of getting into your so-called second act, but also what you can do to make sure that the second half of your life is the best part of your life. So just a few notes. During our little cozy intro chat, we talk about my health insurance claim woes. And I mentioned that I have an international insurance plan that doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. And that can still happen in the US, even if it's a US plan. If it's a private plan, a lot of them are 12 to 18 months before they cover pre-existing conditions. And some of them might be more. So definitely, if you're looking to switch health insurance and you're not going off the exchange, the public exchange, you want to make sure that you get these details. We're going to talk about getting into the Clear Blue Easy Menopause test, the at-home test this week as well. I mentioned doing my own FSH test to see if my HRT has made it look like I'm no longer in menopause. But that wouldn't make any sense because no matter what my hormone levels are, particularly since I no longer have ovaries, I don't have any more eggs. So the FSH would still remain high as far as I know. We talk about getting a bone density scan after being on a medication for endometriosis. The reason for that is that these medications lower or shut down your estrogen production. And just as you are at a higher risk for osteoporosis during menopause because of low estrogen levels, the same is true if you stay on these medications for any length of time. And what's going to be fun going forward is that many of these tests that we're talking about, getting these scans done in your 40s to make sure that you are in a great place moving forward so that you can age well and live a long life where you are healthy and independent. I'm going to be doing myself and then going through all the tests with the audience. So there's a lot of things that we touch on in this episode. So be sure to check out the show notes. And now for the disclaimer. Hi, friends. This is just a quick reminder that this is a podcast and therefore not meant as individual medical advice. We do discuss our own medical experiences on the show, as well as supplements and other healthcare approaches. When we do that, please see the show notes for any additional information regarding these resources. And with any change to your healthcare routine, please do the appropriate amount of due diligence before making any changes. On with the show. Hey, Lauren.
Hello, hello.
How are you this week?
I am just, living the dream. I'm doing good. Doing good. Same stuff, different week.
Right on. Well, it's been a nice little Memorial Day hangout, but right now I just would like to punch my insurance company in the face. I'd like to figure out how to do that.
Oh my God. You'll have to do it through the phone.
Yeah, especially since it's a global policy. I think they're like based out of the UK or something. It's Cigna, but they're trying to tell me my emergency room visit wasn't covered because it was related to a pre-existing condition, which they can, I guess, technically still do since it's not in the U.S. Now that's illegal in the U.S. to rule out care for pre-existing conditions. But when I thought I was I was just gonna bleed to death through my vagina, that wasn't covered. It wasn't covered.
Bleeding vaginas are not covered by insurance. Got it.
Right.
Dude.
So
it's crazy. Plus, I mean, that alone is so much money. It's just insane. It's insurance company. It is so stressful.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's just as I'm trying to get, I've got to go and get my blood work run and do all these things. And it's I have to make sure each little spot is covered to go get the blood. It's like a another full-time job. It's so annoying. And just getting this stuff done in the first place, like taking care of yourself it can feel like another full-time job. It can become a full-time job, especially if you have any sort of like health issues. And to then have to like navigate through all this nonsense is like so infuriating.
Yeah.
But there's one good thing. We had did our little experiments with our at-home testing, which yours probably isn't fully cooked yet. But if you want to,
I'm on day 3 of 5.
Okay, so tell us so far how like what you did and what you have to go. What's left.
Well, yeah. So we ordered the at-home menopause cycle indicator. And for those of you who do this, one funny little trick would be to do like I did and leave it in your bathroom and not even thinking twice about your husband thinking that it's a pregnancy test. And then when especially because he has had a vasectomy, and then when I tell him that it's not for pregnancy, it's for menopause, I think he freaked out even harder. So, that was good.
That's awesome.
That keep Mike on his toes, man.
Yeah. Right. You're like, I'm singing, I'm zagging. You don't know which one's up anymore.
Oh my God. And Jessie knows my husband too. So yeah, she can put a little facial expressions behind that one.
He's like, did the vasectomy fail? Is she having an affair? Wait, she's in menopause?
Like, I don't know what the fuck. I'm going back to work.
That's a lot in 5 minutes for somebody.
That is a ton. That is a ton. Poor guy. Goodness. But yeah, so it's a 5 test. And so I do it every other day. So I did it yesterday was test number 3. So tomorrow will be test number 4 and then test number 5. All 3 so far have been negative. So yeah, I'll be curious to kind of see, I'm excited to unlock the results like on the app, because like if you get 5 negatives, what do they, I don't know.
You're in menopause. Like,
yeah. Sucker. Oh my God.
So then the app goes through and asks you about your symptoms and everything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you feeling today? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So I cheated. And since I'm already in menopause, I decided I could cheat, and I just got an FSH test because I didn't feel like I thought that testing 5 times was probably a little ridiculous, being that my hormones don't really fluctuate. So
that is true.
And so I just ordered the urine test strips, and I did it the first day, but I woke up and I thought it was like, I get up when it's dark every day anyway, before anybody else does. So it just seemed like it was 5 a.m., but it was really like 3:30. So I wasn't sure if that was going to be accurate or not. So then I did it again, and it says that to tell whether the test is positive or not, and I have very little experience with pregnancy tests, so or P tests in general, but so it did say to like if it was like the same, what's the word I'm looking for, like the same like boldness of the line of the control line or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there was like a hue there. There was a line there, but it wasn't like nearly as much as the control. So
if there's a line there, if there's a hue, if there's a whisper of a line, it's a line.
Yeah. Oh, is that what your test said?
That's I know that from pregnancy tests.
Yeah.
If it is just like but so truthfully, no, I didn't read exactly. I mean, I've got the sheet right there in the bathroom, but I don't really need to because I didn't have a hue in one of the boxes, and
Yeah.
then in the little box, I had a solid pink line.
Yeah.
So there
Okay.
was really no, but for pregnancy tests, like even a whisper of a color of a line is
Yeah.
pregnant.
So the instructions for this said to compare, like when you're like looking to compare whether it's positive or negative, it should like it said it should look like the same, the same as the control. Like it should be as dark and clear as that one. So I don't know. I
Gotcha.
might I have my my doctor ordered my annual labs, uh but I'll probably order a few extra things. So maybe I'll just do the blood work to just to see what that says, because that's fun for me.
That is fun for you. It's
All
the
right,
little
well,
things in life, Jessie.
yep. All right. So we are also going to be talking about, I'm speaking of my annual labs. There's also a lot of like health screenings that are super important that start happening in your 40s, and some that aren't even recommended in your 40s that should be. But I'm going to be going through, and since I'm going to be in one place for a little while for once, I'm going to get all this stuff taken care of. But one thing that's next on my list, I go for my follow-up with my gynecologist, and I'm going to see if I can get a script to get another DEXA scan. I got one done when they put me on the medication for endometriosis that I didn't have at the time. But then I was in Asia when the results came back, and I messaged my doctor through the app at the time, and I said, because they usually in your chart you get the full report, the lab report, and there was nothing in there. There was no result in there, nothing. And from a DEXA scan, you're able to not just tell like how your bone density, but also your visceral fat and your muscle mass, and then just by subtraction, I guess your body fat as well. So I wanted to look at all this information, and the doctor responded, and it was like a text message. So maybe I overreacted, but it literally said, "You don't have bone wasting disease." Like, Gallia, I'm like, I know I don't have bone wasting disease. I've been like
Oh my
crossfitting for
God.
whatever, but I
Yeah.
would like to know like from whence I came, so I can then, figure out if there's been any bone loss at any point,
Right.
Um,
So how did
so,
you retaliate there?
well, I didn't because life has been insane. But I'm gonna bring it up when I go back because it's the same like practice, but with a different doctor. So I'm just gonna see if I can get that paperwork. And then my primary care said she knows how to like figure it out from there. Um, and then I want to get another one to follow up as well, because here's the thing, that I think that under normal circumstances, you might not be able to get like a DEXA scan covered by insurance until later on. But the like bone loss, especially with chronic caloric restriction, diets that like restrict whole groups of food, eating like nutrient poor foods, even if you're getting enough calories, all of these things, osteoporosis is getting more and more common because people aren't getting proper nutrients. And if you're not out working in the fields and you're not getting to the gym, you're not getting that resistance training in, then it's really easy. You start losing bone early. It becomes a problem as it advances, and like by the time that it's discovered as a problem, then it's a lot harder to increase your bone density. So the time to like address these issues is now, you know, to make sure that you're like right in the optimal range. And if anything needs to be corrected, you're in your 40s, you can still put muscle on, you can still, you know, like easily enough increase your bone density. These things are possible later in life, but it just gets, you know, the hill gets steeper and steeper. The thing is, like, after the age of 50, 1 in 2 women will have a fracture, and after the age of 65, it's highly likely that it results in death within a few years after that fall. Like, yeah, I mean, it's crazy just from like falling down, you know, just tripping over something. But that time, that like recovery time, that immobility that you have because of that, and then like your risk of a second fracture increases after the first one, you know, or like you're so much more likely to experience another fracture after you've had that first one, and that makes, you know, so much more likely to like just die early. So it's like a big deal, and something that's so preventable, you know?
Yeah. And you hear about that like all the time. People, I mean, not all the time, but enough people falling, and yeah, like it's not good. It's not
and then
good. Like that's one of my, what's that?
They just never quite, you know, get back to normal.
No, they can't. And yeah, I mean, it's like, and you were talking about the nutrients in the food. I mean, it's so being a mom of 2 young kids, my mind is blown at just where we are at with processed foods and convenience and easy access, and the prices there. It's crazy, because no wonder we are seeing an uptick in ailments and things like that.
Yeah, 2 things with that. One is I heard it on the Andrew Huberman podcast with, I think her name was Dr. Casey or something. It was recently, but she put it best. So there's this like cellular theory of health, or the cell theory of biology or something. But it's, you know, it's so common that we wait until there's like an organ failure, or there's some very obvious signs that like an organ's starting to fail, or, you know, the lab work finds disease or all these things. But way before that, where the disease originates is not like these organs don't just fail. You go back and you start with your cells. You put cells together. There's a few other steps, but enough cells together, you have tissues. Put tissues together, then you have an organ. Put organs together, there's organ system. You put organ systems together, you're an organism. So when it comes to disease, it starts in just like cells with like nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, environmental exposures, and enough of them like can't keep up, don't have the resources to function properly, or to recover from insult, and this is like, it's this cascade keeps going, and this is what leads to disease. It's the dysfunction of like individual cells. But what you said about diet is, she put it really well, because like she was talking about pregnancy. She's like, when it comes to food, you think about it like this, like, you basically 3D print a baby with food. Like, I don't know. I mean, is that like as wild a thought, you know, to you as it is to me? I mean, it's a really good way to put it. Like, just how important the food that you put in your body is. And then she also talked about how like you become an adult, you're not done. You're not like just a static thing, and you're continue to be this process of like replenishing of cells, you know? And so you keep creating your whole organism with like the food that you eat, and the, you know, the way you treat your body and everything. So wild.
That's so true. I mean, especially about the baby part and what you put into your body. I mean, so I've been pregnant twice, and you know, it's crazy. Like, I used to Google when I was pregnant, I would Google like how many glasses of wine can you have a week? Like if you're pregnant, or, like what is it? And, some websites would be like, well, zero. You can't, you should not
Right.
drink. It's, whatnot. And then of course, there's that confirmation bias. Well, I'm going to show you, I am going to find something that says that it's okay. And so it's just so true. And there's so many like different things out there with
Mm-hmm.
the internet and with just everything, where you don't really know what's good, what's not good, what to do.
Right. Yep. Yep. And then when it comes down to it, I mean, it's just, it usually just ends up being like the most logical thing. When you really like scale it back, you're like, should I continue to, whatever, drink a substance that makes me intoxicated while pregnant? Probably not. I mean, I'm not here to whatever,
Probably
but like,
not.
but and is processed food, the most optimal, something highly processed versus something like, natural that we've been eating for ever and ever, I don't know. I think I know,
No,
I
it's
know what I think.
true.
So,
It's true. Well, when I was doing all the like carcinogen, you know, not research, but when I found out, I guess, that alcohol was group 1 carcinogen, I
mhm.
started looking into that, and I started seeing like deli meat and things like that, things that just I had no idea. My awareness just like was not there.
Right. And the thing is too, I mean, because I've gone down this road where it's like, okay, then you learn how like get all these things can like pose as an insult to your body, and are bad for you and so on and so forth. The leveraging the good things is the body can handle a lot. Not that I'm, endorsing like drinking a lot or whatever, but just when it comes to like living your daily life and not being afraid of, I avoided plastics like crazy because I was um, uh, trying to avoid the xenoestrogens, synthetic estrogens from outside sources because of my history with endometriosis. And I was really good at that, when I lived at home in the US and, could control a lot more. But then most of the countries that you go to visit, you can't drink the water out of the tap.
Yeah.
You have to get water from a plastic jug somewhere.
Hmm.
And that was kind of a hard thing for me. But so, um, and there's a few things where it's just like, okay, I have to do the best with what I have. And your body can handle a lot if you give it what it needs. If you're taking care of your liver, like it can really withstand a lot of things. So that foundation of like eating as much good food as you can, um, getting proper rest is like, it's huge. It's huge. They're so underestimated because everybody wants to restrict everything and they want to, find the fancy, berries from the rainforest and whatever that they're going to be the answer to like eternal youth and stuff. But it just goes back to this like stress, sleep, recovery, or detox, like all these basic things. And then so we're going to talk about the DEXA scan, and then I'm probably due for a mammogram, which last year I was told, have you gotten a mammogram yet?
I just got my first one a couple months ago.
Oh, how fun was that?
I have dense breasts.
Me too.
Oh, hey. DBC, Dense Breast Club.
So did they recommend you do an ultrasound or an MRI or what? Or nothing?
No,
Okay.
no, just nothing. They just said to kind of be aware, um, but they didn't have me do anything else.
Okay, so that's interesting. Um, because I've had like the first time I had my mammogram, I was told I had dense breast tissue and then had to get an ultrasound. But I think that there was a couple of like spots in there that maybe because of the two things They wanted to investigate, like they couldn't see it as clearly because of the dense breast
Right.
tissue. But then I got the ultrasound and it was like all clear. And then when I went back this last year, she mentioned something. She said, I'm probably, fine for now, but next time I would get a breast MRI. And so I think that's starting to become the new thing to do. And I think the recommendation is they're trying to move it up to every year. But so I'm going to kind of get the, that's going to be another conversation I have with my gynecologist. Like, what is the like up-to-date recommendations and guidelines as far as that's considered?
Right. So they would do that. Like, who would be getting, so it would just be something that happened at your gynecologist every year, or you would go, it would be like you're going to have a mammogram. I guess I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah,
on what.
no, so I believe the MRI would be it like in place of the mammogram.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And but I'm not sure. So that's what I have to get some more information. There were so many other things going on last year that I was like, all right,
Yeah. See you next time.
I got enough problems right now.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting because when I was in Mexico the first time after I got the recommendation to follow up with a breast ultrasound. So I ended up getting that done in Mexico. And there they recommend you start getting breast ultrasounds at 35. But I think that, and it's so annoying because like once you have dense breast tissue, you pretty much always do. And then they generally recommend you get an ultrasound afterwards, but they can't just write the script to like get one and then the other. You have to like wait for the mammogram results to come back and then be like, well, I got dense breast tissue, so you should probably do this other thing too. And then make a whole nother appointment.
They make it very easy for us, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, did I already say this that last week, we were sort of doom and gloom. Okay. So yeah, last week when I realized, into the podcast that maybe, it was all just sounding like doom and gloom because I get energized by finding out like what is really going on, because once you know like what's going on, then you can fix it. Like it's hard to find a solution when you don't know what the problem is. So the data is like all I need to move forward usually. And when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, I really think that the more we know about it, the better we can set ourselves up to not have a hard time like struggling through this period of life. And also, to then have it be like the best time of our life because we're not, on the hormone roller coaster, and we've come all this way and overcome all these things. And, so it's not like it's all downhill from here and the best days have gone by and remember when. So
It's not like a curse.
yeah. I mean, have you had those like feelings? Have you thought like, oh God, menopause, it's like, what are your thoughts when you think of perimenopause, menopause?
Well, now the older that I'm getting and the more people that I'm around that are kind of either experiencing it or have experienced it, yeah, it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like one lady, poor lady, was at my retail counter having just this crazy hot flash, and she's like, oh my God, you don't ever want to go through menopause. And I'm like, you're right, I don't.
But you know what?
Not with.
If you don't go through menopause, what does that mean?
Means I'm not alive.
Correct.
Yes. So I do. And that's the thing. Like I said that I don't want to because she's at my counter saying that, but I love that you're kind of like informing me more and kind of making it not as scary, like it can be manageable. And it can be something to embrace, you know, it's a
Yep.
next stage of life.
Yeah. And I think that, this is the best time ever, and it's only going to get better to like be going through perimenopause or like, or have it on the horizon and menopause as well, because we now know more about it than we ever have. It's getting more attention than it ever has. And it seems to be like it's only going to keep improving from here. And there's honestly I've thought about it, and I'm wondering like if I was to go back and like knowing what I know now and change a few things, I think that we can get to the point where like menopause is simply like where you stop producing eggs, but you don't necessarily go through this like rapid health decline that can come after menopause, and that and all the struggle through perimenopause. But that's getting ahead of myself. that's big picture. Like, why don't we bring it? Why don't we bring it in a little bit?
Reel her on in there, Jess.
So the name of the game when it comes to going through perimenopause and menopause is really like stress management, because as your estrogen starts to decline, estrogen acts as a regulatory hormone to cortisol. So this cortisol unchecked starts to cause a lot of problems like mentally, emotionally, inflammation, blood sugar. This is where a lot of the stuff stems from. So depending on your individual choices, your strategy towards this is going to be different. Whether you decide to take HRT, either way, you're going to have to lean into lifestyle choices and do some like mindset and emotional work probably. And it comes down to even in like your exercise routine, like it's not it really never was more is more. But it's definitely not more is more now. And it's kind of
like quality over quantity.
Yeah, and like the building muscle, and because you want to look at it like how much muscle do you want to have when you're 80? So you need to like, get into a really good place now in order to preserve that like throughout the rest of your life, and also by preserving your ability to be functional.
And so like how well does your muscle preserve? So I'm 42. I like to work out, things like that. But how long, and I plan on keeping it up and whatnot, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm kind of answering my own question, actually, the more that I think about it. It's just, it's not losing it, it's not having to like have these massive like biceps or anything like that, but it's keeping it going. It's
right. I mean, and so, very few women are going to have the ability to just become jacked, like by accident. If you don't want like big giant muscles, like it doesn't. I mean, I do like build muscle easily, and I love that about myself. But but if that's something that you haven't experienced up until this point, like you're probably not gonna just be like, oh my god, like I have like all of a sudden I have massive traps, like yeah. But so it is good to be aware that like testosterone starts to dip after like the age of 35. So that plays a big role in your ability to build and maintain muscle. And if you're not feeling like you're particularly, strong enough now or not carrying enough muscle at the moment, then you really need to kind of lean into that area. If you've been like a, cardio bunny or like an endurance athlete or something like that, and you're always just going to the gym to try and crush it and sweat until you're, want to puke or whatever, it's time to like switch things up a little bit. Focus on the resistance training. And like when I say resistance training, like HIIT is fine to do, but like you really, if you want to move the needle and build strong muscle, um, in like dense muscle tissue too, it's not necessarily going to get huge, but it's interesting because and I saw this a lot like in CrossFit, is that like you can have somebody that's got like carries a lot of volume in their muscle, but doesn't have the same strength as someone smaller. So those are, you know, two different things. But but like lifting weights that are heavier at lower reps, like working your way down to like under 10 reps, and to where like you get to that last rep, and the next rep, if you did another one, you wouldn't be able to like hold the form correctly. So this is the kind of weight that we're talking, and a lot of people are going to have to start out slowly because they maybe haven't done this before. But it is, the good news is that wherever you're at, wherever it's like hard and challenging, that's exactly where you need to be to build more muscle, you know? So, and then like in between sets, you want to like rest for at least 30 seconds. You know, you're not trying to like run in place or, you know, move right to the next exercise or do a circuit or whatever. You want that in order to send your body that message that it can like build strength. You need that rest afterwards. You need to be able to fully recover from your workout. So that's a huge one. And then I think that like, you know, I think this is changing too. So many women are like, they don't want to like build too much muscle or look, but it's getting more and more popular because you're really realizing that it's, again, you're not going to like turn into a bodybuilder by accident, and that it looks good, and then it's also going to make you feel good, and it's also, all that muscle needs calories and sugar. You know, you get that your sugar goes into the muscle, the more of it you have, so it helps with blood sugar regulation. And then building those muscles with weight training also increases your bone density, so you're getting a lot done with one workout there, and you don't have to like pump yourself up to like, you know, run 7 miles or whatever the kids are doing these days. I don't even
whatever. They're scooting around on electric scooters and bikes that you don't have to pedal anymore. Yeah, they're good.
Right.
No, but I like that. It's like a trickle down effect.
Yep.
You know, like for the benefits.
Yeah. And then another thing that can help a lot, and creatine is actually what's known as like a meathead supplement for like building more muscle or whatever, but it's actually probably the most studied supplement ever. And what it's known even better for in the medical literature is its effect on your retaining cognitive ability long into old age. So it's a great supplement for that, but it also helps like when you start taking it, the scale will probably go up a couple of pounds because it's bringing water into your muscles. So it's going to help you like add muscles. Which is, again, it's going to help your, like, if you have body composition goals, like you want to lose fat, adding muscle is a great way to do that. Do
you take creatine?
Oh, I do. I sure do.
How do you take it?
I throw it. It has, so it's nice because it's cheap. Like the cheapest versions, they have a few different kinds, but I think it's just the creatine monohydrate is, you can get it in bulk on Amazon or something, and it doesn't have a taste, so you could mix it in water and drink it. You can put it in your coffee. I'll put it in with, I'll either have like a protein shake or amino acids, essential amino acids supplement to kind of up my protein a little bit. That's going to be another great idea, is consuming as close as you can to a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. And that's going to be a big challenge for a lot of people. But if you're having issues, if you're trying to diet and or you're not you're lacking energy, or you're not getting stronger, or things aren't moving forward, focusing on that protein goal, because it's some work to get that much protein. And I would say that, I don't know, a lot of women probably get about maybe 70 grams of protein or something. And it should at least be at about 100. And, not more.
Offhand, like what a handful of nuts would be?
I think it probably depends on the nut, because some of them are fattier than others, but
Let's go
like
cashew.
um um
That's what I eat.
I feel like I was just looking at this, because I am throughout the day, like I don't look at calories, I don't look at anything else. I mean, I know what carbs are and stuff like that, but interestingly, I've been adding more of those in. But I feel like it might be wrong, like, because I think 2 tablespoons of peanut butter was like 8 grams, without, like, peanut butter
Okay.
without anything added to it.
Okay.
So somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, and you made me do that. What is it called? Chronometer or chronolog or
Yeah.
to log my food. And I actually loved doing that. And I need to bring that back because it was nice. Like you put your food in and then you scroll over and then it shows like your protein, your fat, all of that stuff. And then what you need more of.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice.
Well, and like that's one thing I like to do it so that, like, a lot of times, like, you can't see the calories or anything, because what I want people to focus on are the nutrients, because beyond the fat and the carbs and protein, it does a great job, because they don't all do this, of tracking the micronutrients. So when we're talking about the health of individual cells, this is like such an important thing. It's these chronic insufficiencies of these little micronutrients can lead to these big problems over time. And so it's just, I have people log their food for 3 days, 3 average days, and not make yourself crazy with it, but see where you are, see what adjustments to your diet could be simple enough to reduce these gaps in nutrition. And then what you can't get done, that's where you bring the nerd of supplements in, meaning like minerals and vitamins and stuff like that. And it's just a really logical way. And once you start getting all these nutrients, you check these boxes, then your diet just becomes, you're giving your body what it needs, like cravings reduce, your sleep improves, your blood sugar is I mean, it just really helps. That's another thing about getting your protein in throughout the day, is your cravings, it's very filling. So you won't have these sort of blood sugar swings and crashes throughout the day where you're just reaching for something really quick to keep you going, keep your blood sugar, get your blood sugar back up. So those are some great options. I guess I'll just throw this out there, and because and I don't want to tell anybody else what they should do or whatever, but if I had it to do over again, if I was 35 or premenopausal, I would want to be getting, if you are not feeling at all like you're in perimenopause and you feel good, now is a great time to get your hormones checked to see where things are, and your testosterone in particular, because if I had to do it over again, I would probably monitor that number. And that might have been the first place I went when it came to my HRT, when I started to notice maybe not being able to focus as well, or not recovering as well from my workouts. And then once your periods start to get a little weird, if they start getting longer or shorter, or the PMS starts getting worse, or you're bleeding heavier or starting to have some sort of reproductive issues, that's when I would have brought in like a small amount of micronized progesterone. And again, we're just talking about like nothing that's going to send you out of like a physiologic range, meaning like the range like that 35, goal is what we're talking about here. And then I'm trying to think of when, like what might have like set me off, because I wouldn't wait too long to add in like a low level of estradiol, because this is what I'm wondering. This is when I was like going off in outer space earlier, of like being able to go through this transition and not and just have it be where you run out of eggs. So like your FSH would be the only way you knew, like, and then your cycle, would stop at some point, maybe, depending on how you take that progesterone.
So how would people go about like getting their hormones checked?
So if you're in perimenopause, it gets a little more complicated because, because your cycles are maybe erratic. If you're still having normal cycles, there's certain days of the month where you would want to test different hormones. Testosterone would be pretty easy because it's pretty much like this stays the same. And so you could see where that is. So that's not something that you would necessarily, like, there's not a number that you want to hit within the range of like normals. So you can do blood tests. They have like the Dutch urine test, which again, like during perimenopause, it's a little iffy if that's like something that's going to be more useful to you. So it would be a lot of like kind of looking at where your hormones are, like the last time you had them tested, and how you feel now, and then comparing that to kind of see where you are on this progression, maybe taking your at-home Clear Blue Easy test. This podcast brought to you by Clear Blue Easy.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll have to plug them. But so would that be something that, like, for example, for me, who I don't believe that I'm in perimenopause, is that something that I would just go to my physician and then they would issue the blood work, the labs for that, and then like just as easy as that? Or
so depending on your physician, you could go and say like, again, because of the way insurance works, like they might do it, if you're just like, oh, I'm not quite feeling myself, like I'm a little tired, and you could give them, there's certain like keywords you want to use, like if you want to get, to trigger the standard of care, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, or depending on your doctor, you just might be like, I'm, how old are you now?
42.
I'm 42. I want to see where my hormones are. Like, it's my annual exam. Like, let's do this, like, and they're going to be down for it. I mean, my doctor, she was like, I'm going to run your TSH. Do you want to look at your, T3 and T4? I was like, like haven't generally had an issue. Like, I don't think I've had a problem with my thyroid, but now I'm menopausal, so who knows, and like I love some data. If like I'd like to know where it is now, because I don't have a problem, so that like if and when I do have a problem, I have like, this is what I look like when I feel good.
Compare it.
Yeah, and it's just a place to start. It's not a diagnosis, but you can be like, well, these are different, so maybe we should explore these options. Right. So if you can't get anywhere with your doctor that way, you can, like any lab test now kind of thing, you can contact your favorite functional health practitioner, and they can get you some lab work ordered.
Like you.
So, yeah.
Like you.
So yeah, I like to, like with my clients and stuff, and like with you, I like to prime my clients for their doctor's visit, because there's, like I said, there's certain things that you have to bring your doctor's attention to for it to even, there's just things that people don't even know are symptoms of things that are meant to like trigger. And sometimes even then, like there's been cases where it's just like, you're a menstruating female and you're exhausted. Like, why aren't they running an iron panel? Like you told them you had like heavy periods. Why aren't they running an iron panel? Like,
right.
But that's where, at some point you start sneaking in the low level of estrogen. I just wonder if you could really, like, theoretically just kind of, sail through this and, like, one day be like, oh yeah, I'm in menopause, I guess. Like, and nothing's changed except for I don't bleed.
Nothing's changed. Yeah. That should be nice.
Yeah. I mean, so we're not quite there yet, but and it is, like, I think that the doctor we discussed before, Dr. Mary Claire Haber, I've heard her say perimenopause is still like the Wild West, like, because it's inherently so erratic. It's hard to, like, peg down to study it, and people are so different and they have so many different things coming into perimenopause too. Like, so many people have some sort of chronic condition already, or deficiencies or gut issues or ADHD or depression or anxiety. Any of this stuff is just gonna, like, get harder when you start to throw in, like, crazy hormones with it. So
Right.
trying to get yourself to the best possible place before that time. Like, I just think that, I don't know at what age really, but like 30 or something, like, you just started getting primed for perimenopause. Like,
Yeah.
with the doctor,
Yeah.
I mean, like a booklet, like, it's just here's a checklist, I mean, just something. I wish somebody would have said something, or
Well,
just,
there does need to be more. Bottom line, there needs to be more, because I had never even heard of perimenopause until I was probably in my 30s, and yeah, you don't really get prepped for it. And you hear all of the negative about, like, going through menopause, when, that's just one side of it.
right.
There's
Yep.
so much, yeah, I mean, just like we said earlier, there's so much more to it, but yeah, people just hear it's like, if I hear the word menopause, I automatically go negative. But now that I'm becoming more informed, it's nice to have the knowledge and the information behind me.
Yeah. I mean, right now I may require a stricter maintenance schedule than I ever did before, but like this machine is running better than it ever has, like,
Right.
it's just
the Jessie
like, everything
machine.
makes so much more sense, like,
Yeah.
it's, and yeah, I mean, it just feels like, the next 60 years are going to be, like, just easier.
The next 60, I dig it.
Yeah. That's my goal. So I'm just getting started.
Love it. You are. Yes, you are.
Watch out. I'm like, I got rid of that uterus.
Watch out, world. Here she comes. You're going to be like Meryl Streep, or whichever one. Remember Death Becomes Her?
Oh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, where they... Although you won't have, like, the big hole in your stomach.
Right. That would be good. I mean, obviously that's not everything, which is why I'm putting together my estrogen evolution program. Just because, like I said, as I talk about this stuff, it depends on the person. I think that, like, the more you know, then you can put together, like, the perfect plan for yourself. It just becomes easier to make these decisions. You see all this stuff, like, on its Instagram or wherever, for perimenopause and menopause, and it's just like somebody, found something that worked for them, and so they made a program that they think should work for everybody. And that's not necessarily true, because we're, like, very different people going into it, and we're going to go through it. No two people will have the same, like, menopausal transition. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's good. Having a plan. That's what I tell my clients all the time, is have a plan, play the tape forward. Like, what's it gonna, what can we do now for when later comes around, then we're ready.
Right.
So,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, what do you like? Let's play the tape to the end. Like,
yeah.
how much tape
Let's
do
fast
you
forward.
want?
Yeah, I know.
How many volumes to your life,
Oh my gosh.
All right, well, cool. That got us to the hour mark. Is there anything that you can think of that I'm that you would want me to touch on? I'm trying to think of literally there's there's a solution for everything when you're going through perimenopause and menopause. I firmly believe that there's relief that you can find, and there's a way to set yourself up for success for
right
as you age. Yeah.
Right.
My goal for today was just to sort of introduce that idea that it's not the beginning of the end. So
yeah, it's not all doom and gloom.
I know.
What you can end us. You can do the sail off.
All right, so we'll have a lot of exciting things coming up. We're going to have Lauren Leparo's birth center, childbirth at the birth center. I don't know.
Story.
Yeah.
Story
The
about
comparison between a hospital birth and birth center birth. I think that's the most I've ever said birth. And, and we're going to do some interesting things looking at her blood work during pregnancy. And I'm going to have a woman I used to work with who has a functional blood chemistry software, and I used to do research for her. She has a program with another woman for each trimester of what your optimal lab work should look like during that time. So that was a little confusing, I'm sure, but it's going to be really interesting. So we're going to look at Lauren Leparo's blood work from her pregnancy. She was having some issues, and we're going to see if we can kind of clear things up. And then that guest is also going to share her story about her hysterectomy. So that's exciting for me. When my hyster sisters, heard it referred to on the internet. Super cool.
Oh my god! So you got the Dense Breast Club and the Hyster Sisters.
Oh, yeah. Very exciting.
DBC. Very exciting.
All right. So all that excitement coming up, and until then, I guess we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.